Hey there, everybody. If you are watching, or actually, let me make sure this is actually working. Let us see. Oh, whatever. Okay, I see it's live, and make sure the sound's working. Hello, if you are watching this recording back, I will do the thing where I wave my arms again, and just wait a moment so that way you skip to this part. I'm going to turn on this light over here. All right, that's a little bit better, a little bit easier to see me anyway. All right, I'm gonna give it like just a little bit of time to let everyone kind of pick up here. Let me throw up an announcement real quick. Make sure I get everybody in here. Perfect. All right. Make sure I have the chat pulled up. We'll kick this off. Man, oh man. Make sure I did this right. Hello, if you were just tuning in, I'm just going to give it a little bit more time to let people in, but if you have something you want to ask before I start, you can go ahead and feel free to hop on into it here. I think this should be a good video, since I unfortunately missed the one last week. I've been busy and with a minor, thankfully, injury on my wrist. Been trying to recover from that. Thankfully, it's my offhand, not the primary hand I bowl with, so that's something good, I suppose. Yeah, I'll give it just a handful more minutes and then we'll fire it off here. Gosh, it pops every time I twist it. Stinks. All right, only because I want to start this off now, we shall fire it off. So, hello, if you are watching this back, now is the time you will want to skip to so I will actually start to talk about the stuff that we'll be talking about today. So, I would first like to preface that I'm extremely grateful for all of you again, because we're at the moment of me making this live stream, over 175 subscribers. That's awesome. We're actually almost 180 at this point. So we are continuing to grow. It's awesome. I love the fan base we have started developing, this really supporting community. I've had a lot of you reaching out to me. I've heard of people reaching out to each other. So be sure that you're continuing to do that, because that's the kind of stuff that makes sure that we're reinforcing each other and ensures that we're all growing just as much as the next person. Because a lot of this stuff, as I always say, is you kind of have to pick and choose the stuff that you're listening from me and from other people, because some stuff that may work out for you might not work out for me, or something that I'm saying might not work out for you or for someone else that you're speaking about or watching, or whatever the case may be. So it's very important that we make sure that we're focusing on that kind of stuff and helping each other out in every way we can, because more often than not, a lot of you guys will find issues with each other. So make sure that you're continuing to reach out to me with any questions you have, because I've had a lot of questions rolling through. It's awesome. And again, I'd like to apologize for my less frequent uploading. This week and last week have been very busy for me, so I will continue to be trying my best to make as much time as I can. I actually was able to record another video just a little bit ago. I just haven't got around to chopping it up and editing out all the little filler spots in between. So as soon as I get that, which I'm hoping to have that done by tomorrow, I will get that posted for all of you guys to make sure that you can watch. So in this live stream, we are going to start to kind of dive a little bit further into more of the physical game. Now, we already kind of did in the last live stream where I kind of talked about making sure that you're identifying the strengths, weaknesses you have within your game. And obviously, this is going to become a lot more pertinent moving forward, because you have to know the kind of stuff you're struggling with and why that may be. A lot of the stuff that we do physically generally will cater better if we're making decisions on the things we're doing physically to better yet, foster our growth and cater toward the growth that we are having. So, I talked about the key elements of the approach, and there are different words or different other things. Do you think I should start going left-handed before the season starts to camp out right-handed? You can. I know. I mean, thankfully my offhand got injured, so that's something. Yeah, I would say, because you can still pick up on a lot of stuff if you bowl left-handed, obviously, Riley. Definitely, I would spend like a lot of time like the house, like just throwing like something at like a cloth or like a wall or something to cushion the blow of the ball, obviously. But just practice like getting the feel of the ball in your left hand, because you have to take everything that you've learned and like completely flip it. So like even like just like from the first step you're taking, like that has to be the opposite. Or like, you know what I mean? So like it takes time to get used to it. So I would spend some time at the house getting used to that different feel, because everything's literally the exact opposite of what you're used to, and then it'll make it a lot easier once you start to actually go out on the lane. So I hope that helps. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I always advise people that even if like you don't have an injury, learn to bowl left-handed, right-handed, learn backup balls, because again, that versatility almost always crowns the victor in this kind of stuff. So excellent question though. So going back to what we were talking about, so there are many people are going to have different sorts of interpretations of this and different things that they're thinking when it comes to what the key elements of the approach are. But in general, there's a different like points of friction. So when I look towards making something identifiable for you guys, I like to think of points where things go wrong, right? Like the most common spots of error, because if you're just thinking about your entire approach physically, it's hard to kind of pick out one specific section or one bucketed area of which that area might be a weakness for you or that area might be a strength for you. So by me making a more regimented, cut up kind of sections of your approach, it'll make it easier for you to diagnose and analyze the issues that you're having. So throughout the entire rest of this pathway of learning, you can kind of cater what you're developing toward those specific sections. So we've only gotten into 2 sections so far, which again, I'm very sorry. Life has been so busy with a minor injury. It's awful. I have another video uploaded for the next steps, which I just got to edit. I'm hoping I can get that edited and uploaded tomorrow before the Quick Tip Tuesday on Tuesday, obviously, so you guys will have that. I know I said that earlier when people hopped in. I just want to make sure that I made all of you aware that I'm extremely, extremely sorry for life and everything. It's just it's such a big part in life, getting all old now. It's so strange going from school to full-time and everything else. So much. So first, I think the number one when it comes to physical game, that thing everybody likes to overlook is the stance. Because everyone thinks, well, sure, Coach Logan, like I understand it's important to have a good stance, but what really is the point when I'm only doing that for 1 second, right? Like how much of an impact can my stance actually have? Well, I'm here to tell you, if your stance is not set up in a way that's going to cater how your follow-on action is going to be, there is literally zero shot that you're going to make a good shot on that specific frame. Like there's no way. It's one thing when it comes to the physical game more often bleeds into the following or follows up into the next thing. And if you struggle on one thing, it will more than likely have some sort of negative reaction on the following part of your approach. So the stance is just about everything. And I know if you start off in one way, and the minute you take that first step, you might immediately change and get out of that. That's cool, but why would we want extra movements when we can just have ourselves set up correctly in the first place? So, in your stance, before I even get into any of the specifics which I've discussed, I think it's important that we think of what the actual overarching concept of the approach are. So, the kind of buckets that I've kind of divided this up in, which I've discussed previously, but I'm going to go over again, is the stance. That's your first one, right? How you are setting up before you actually begin having your momentum go forward and having that energy carry out on the rest of your approach. And then is going to be how you navigate the ball into your swing and how that relates to your feet, which has to do with your timing and all that other stuff. But only part of that I care about when it comes to that is their backswing. How high are you getting that ball? How are you navigating that ball, right? So that's the second section. Then it is the finger on the trigger / the squeeze. So the finger on the trigger is me referencing when you have created as much potential energy as you can. You have got that ball to the peak of your backswing. That is when you have put your finger on the trigger. And when you squeezing the trigger is your downswing, how you're converting all that energy that you have just stored back into the kinetic. And then the actual firing is your release. How is your hand coming out of that ball? Is your thumb exiting before your fingers? Is your middle finger exiting before your ring finger? Is your hand on top of the ball? Is your hand underneath the ball? Are you creating leverage? That kind of stuff, which the bread and butter that most of you are going to come to realize is what needs to be worked on is going to be the release, which obviously I would love to get into that at the beginning, but you have to understand what's leading up to that release so you fix that stuff so you're optimized when it comes to that release point. So those are the sections that we have. So the number one key element when it comes to people that are very phenomenal physically and people who struggle is how you're managing your energy. The more energy you spend on one section of your body, you're limiting not only how much output you have, but you're putting strain on that one muscle system. More commonly than not, a lot of people that have issues are either going to have way too much reliance on one part of their body, or they just struggle to find ways to navigate that energy effectively. So you have to think, how am I taking the energy that I have within my body, spreading it throughout every single part of my body, from my shoulders down to my feet? How can I spread out that energy and find different means of creating it in a more effortless way? Because we've all been there before where we want to throw the ball super hard and we tense up and we squeeze in our arms and then we miss our target, we fall off balance, we don't release it right, and 18 things go wrong in the process of us doing that. So by us being able to create effortless energy, let's get that clear, in the simplest means possible, that is almost always going to be the most optimal way of doing it. Now, obviously, we receive free energy from different sources. The number one is going to be gravity. So when it comes to, and I'll get more into this later, when it comes to the most common mistakes, I see people mismanaging energy, and the other one is not taking advantage of the free stuff. Gravity is designed to help you, especially when it comes to your swing. And if you don't have your timing correct and you're fighting it, for example, your momentum of your backswing could still be going back, but I jolt forward, now I'm fighting against that free energy that the world's giving me. So now I'm mismanaging my energy. So a lot of time when you muscle it, it's just a different concept of you finding a way to mismanage it. So first key element, which is your stance. So let's just think optimally, okay? And again, not going to work for all of you, especially when it comes to the physical game. Everything is open for interpretation, but I just want to kind of set up things that you can think about. So when I'm standing, with how I stand and how I always recommend people to stand, bowling is a very unique sport. Now, there's a lot of accuracy sports, but bowling is kind of its own ball game because of just how it is, right? When you think of accuracy sports, you think of like precision, like shooting or archery and that kind of stuff. You really think of bowling, and you think of other stuff like, oh, basketball, there's some like precision in that, making sure you get it in the hoop, and there's some precision in football for the quarterback when they throw the ball, but you don't really think of bowling. But when we know that we're bowling on an invisible playing field, and we know that stuff is always changing, in a perfect world, if we can be more accurate, that's going to cater me. It's going to cater toward that type of bowler, right? And then knowing how to navigate it mixed in with your precision will make you a phenomenal bowler. So that's why you see it so commonly. I bet all of you know someone you bowled against, someone you bowl with that may have a great physical release, but they have no concept of how to adjust. So it's just kind of nullified at that point. So that's why I taught the stuff before we got into the physical stuff. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm getting too excited here because I've missed you guys. So with that being said, it's a precision sport. I mean, people can tell you otherwise, but it is a precision sport. If you can be more accurate, we want to be. So if we can set ourselves up in our stance to hit that target that we are looking at, that's going to be better for us, right? If I'm trying to throw my bowling ball at you guys, but my body is facing this way, I'm going to have to like counteract that somehow and twist and turn and do all that stuff. Why would I want to set up that way? So that's why the setup is so important, because if I can face, my whole body is facing toward you guys at my setup, well, now I'm square up to you guys, and it'll be easier for me to stay pointed toward you and roll my hand over the spot I'm trying to hit, right? So simplify some stuff. Like, use some common sense when it comes to your stance, right? And this one's kind of up for debate, because I actually had someone who commented who I thought was very interesting, where the number one key thing I said is face your target. And if you guys are my target and I'm standing directly in front of you, my body and however it is I want to throw should be faced toward you. But let's say I'm over here I don't want my body to face this way because that means I'm going to have to get my arm that way. I should take my body and face it toward you guys versus if I'm over here, right? I don't want my body facing this way because then I have to throw the ball behind my back or something to get it over to you guys. So what do? Take my body and face it toward you. So now my body is going toward you. So this comes at a problem, because if you're facing something and you only know how to walk straight in the direction you're facing, what does that mean is going to happen? That means you are going to drift. Now, drifting is extremely common. I would say about 9 out of 10 bowlers drift, 8 out of 10 which don't even realize they drift. So drift is defined as if this is where I'm starting and this is where I'm ending at the point of release, what is the difference in where I started versus where I ended up? Now, if I only know how to walk straight based off where my shoulders are facing and I'm standing right at you, I'm going to walk right at you, facing this way, right? But now, if I only know how to walk straight and I'm here, guess what? I'm now walking at an angle from where I started. I started off here, ended off here. So that means I drifted this much versus if I'm over here, I could start here and drift here. So now I've drifted. So if you are going to do that, don't walk always in the direction you're facing. Walk in the direction in correspondence to the lane. If this is the way the lane is, my body is this way, I should still walk in the direction of the lane. Versus if my body's this way, I should still walk in the direction of the lane. This takes time, especially if you're not used to it. But we know how wide the lane is, right? It's 40 inches. 40 inches, 60 feet long, right? You don't have to angle this much to open up to hit your arrow. You don't have to close off this much. It's a very slight adjustment, very slight. So if you struggle on 10 pins as a righty or 7 pins as a lefty, I want you to try that. Because I bet most of you, if not all of you that struggle, if you're a righty and you're shooting at a 10 pin, I bet almost all of you tend to miss it to the left. You'll tend to miss to the left because since everyone's told you stand on the left side of the lane, you stand over here, and now you don't face your body a little bit open, your arm goes like this. So now you're missing to the left-hand side. So what I want you to do next time you're bowling, set up like normal. I want you to just take your body, and I mean like a degree of angle. Just go like this. Open up just a little bit and let your hips open up. Now, if I continue walking, my arm goes at what I want to hit, people. It'll go at that 10 pin. Or if you have a 7 pin, you can close off a little bit. You can open up if it's 10 pin. You can close off if it's an 8 pin. You can open up if it's a 3 pin. You can close off if it's a 4 pin. You get the point. You get the point. This is a pivotal and extremely useful portion of the stance. I think it's often overlooked. It's a game of angles. There's axis rotation angles, angle of entry to the pocket, angle of entry to this, angle off your hand to that, tilt off your hand this, angle off this, angle. Everything is mathematics and angles. But to put it simply, if I start up in my stance facing my target and I just continue making sure that my steps don't tend to drift too much or drift a different amount depending on which way my body is angled and my hips are facing, you'll be just fine. And your spare percentage will go way up. I'm never going to forget the first time I told somebody about this concept, and I had always logged his spare percentages. He went in only 3 weeks of bowling from a 32 point something whatever I had percentage to a 78.6 whatever percentage. That's a 40% increase in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, he went 40% increase on his spare percentage. That is ridiculous. His 10 pin percentage went from like a 20 point something to like I think it was like a 82, 80 something around there. But either way, like I log all this stuff when I'm coaching my people, and I was like, wow, like that was very pivotal for him clearly. So don't think you have to always face directly in the surface of the lane, because that means you're going to have to adjust something in your backswing, right? Like the only way, guys, if I'm trying to aim at you, if for my ball to go in that direction, I have to swing in that direction, right? The ball, I can't swing like this and have the ball go out this way. That just isn't a thing that happens, right? So if I set up like this and I'm not facing it, my arm now has to go behind my back and away from me for me to get it to you. And if I'm over here, now my arm has to go away from me and over here. So why do that, since this is way easier to just go straight the whole time, to just face my target. And now I'm going straight again. Oh, guess what? It's the angle. Boom. This is all I turn, guys. Look. I'm right at you. I almost even turned too much. So it's super duper small, minute adjustments. Now, feeding into this further, I always like to talk about how you're managing your energy right now. Very common, and I mean, I would say just about darn near every bowler I know. When you set up in your stance, I bet you hold the ball kind of like this. Or if you do hold it like close to you, you'll hold it like high. A lot of like new people like to hold it like real high like this. They'll hold it like up at their face. Now, what height you want is up to you, and I'll go into what those different heights can mean. But my problem is how this arm is out. Now, take your bowling ball. If you're watching me live, take your bowling ball. I want you to try this. Set up like normal. Just set up like normal. And then hold it. I want you to see how long you can hold it there before you get a little bit tired. And if your arm comes any bit out like this, especially if you're like this, or if you have some like goofy kind of stuff, if your arm goes out like this, you are going to, I give it maybe 5 minutes max. And even then, you're going to be like shaking to hold it up. You are going to be so tired. And now, before you even throw the ball, you're already worn out. You've already exhausted the energy in the what's to most is their primary source of energy. So now you're throwing the ball X amount of mile per hour slower, and now your ball's hooking too much, and you go through the face, and you leave a big 4, and it's just awful, and you get mad, and everything else goes wrong. So if we know how fragile our muscles are, even if you're all big, rough, tough, whatever, I don't really care, you're gonna get tired. This is from people who bowl like commonly and throw the optimal weight, 15 or 14 pounds. This is a boulder pretty much, guys. This is a big rock. Like, that's ridiculous. So if I hold this ball far away from me, I can't do it because of that wrist. If I hold this ball far away from me, this gets tiring. But now, hold it closer like this. If your arm stays in line with your torso, depending on how much you have tilted, if I tilt a little forward, keep it in line still, but it should be locked at my side, or at the very least, somewhat close to in line. Some people like to have it a little forward. That's okay. I'm not saying you have to like hold it this close to you and be super compact, but I'm saying put less strain on your body before you even start. And I know, again, everyone always says like, Logan, like, I'm only standing there for like a second, but there's 12, if you at least strike, or think about this, there's 10 frames, and if you don't strike in that frame, you have to throw a ball 2 times. And then if you're bowling in a league or something, you're bowling 3 games of that. That is a lot of seconds you're spending just doing it. And then not to mention, because we all know this, you pick up your ball and you get ready to go up and the person cuts you off, and now you're standing there holding it in your hand. And I bet when you hold it in your hand, guess what your arm is like? This. I bet you hold it right up real tight. When you stand there and you wait for those people next to you, you're not going like this. Oh, I can't wait to go bowl. No one does that. Like, you do this because it's putting less strain on your body. So that's even more time you're holding onto the ball, right? So I bet you didn't even think about that. I just clocked all of you right there. So make yourself easy. Make it easy for yourself. And set up in a way that you're providing the least amount of tension before you even start, right? Like, especially if you're built like me out there. Like, I'm a thin dude. The last thing I need to be doing is wasting my energy on stuff that's literally irrelevant. Save it for something else, right? Now, this is kind of a more niche thing, but I still think it's important to cover. So when you set up, how your feet are set up on the floor, doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, like some people kind of like start apart like this, some people kind of start close, some people like me, they have offset where one foot's more close to the other. Some people like close off their feet, some people open off their feet, some people have a little boogie action. I don't know what the heck you have going on, but the bottom line is, this kind of feeds into that angles portion. Have your feet face your target. If this ball is my target, right? No matter how you start, have it face your target. Not this, because now I'm not facing my target anymore, right? Take my feet, face my target, and then walk straight in relation to that lane surface, right? So your feet can kind of help promote you pointing that, because if I look down and I look at my feet, I can now adjust my upper body based off where my feet are. If I look down and my feet are pointing this way, I know, oh crap, I'm not angled my body enough. So now I go, boom. Now I'm in line with where my feet are, right? So it's another means of reinforcing that. A lot of people like to start with their feet kind of apart. I would advise you start with them like at least touching at the sides like this, because again, we know the more compact we are, the more we know we can spread out our energy in different places, right? Let me fix this. Don't think you guys want to look at my feet. That's gross. Ooh, no, don't drop the ball. So we know all that good stuff, right? And I promise to all of you, like, I cannot stress it enough because it makes me sad sometimes, is that some stuff I'm saying isn't going to work for all of you. It's not. I'm just simply saying, again, logic dictates all the things I'm saying here, right? Like, again, like, if we face our target, it's going to be easier for us to have more consistency. If we start a little more compact, it places less burden on our arms. If I start with whatever, it's allowing me to allocate energy elsewhere, right? So think about that kind of stuff within your game. It's like, take a moment, think about how you're setting up, and think, is that thing I'm doing really helping me? Why do I stand like that? Why do I offset my foot? What does that allow me to do? So your balance is a big part that I think takes a big key aspect in this as well. How are you distributing your weight before you even begin? So again, how you do something in the previous portion very directly feeds into the performance you have in the next portion, right? So if we know the next step is to step, if the next step in the approach is to start walking, you want your weight to be facing a little bit, you want it to be easy to allow your momentum to carry you forward, right? You shouldn't feel like if I have my weight back, but I have to go forward. If I'm like this and my weight's back, now all of a sudden I have to like shift my weight and start to go forward. Like, why would you want to do that, right? That's again, think balance, okay? I know I have to go forward. The next part of the approach is to walk, right? I should still be stable, but I should be able to just, without wasting any energy in my legs, just fall forward. And now I start. And now that momentum I have lets me carry forward small, like a lot. You don't want to, like, it's not a race, people. Like, it's not like beep, 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 and then you all of a sudden go. It should be a easy, nice fall forward, and I start. Right? A good way to think about this is when you start, think of like, you know, like when you trust fall and you're like, slowly fall. Think that, but fall forward and let your first step catch you. So if you want to have it be more effortless, think, okay, trust fall, catch with my foot. Trust fall, catch my foot. That's a big one that I like to help. So, because I used to kind of start my weight kind of back like this. Now I'd have to kind of like awkwardly like start, and it was weird. But if you think of trust fall, okay, so I'm here. Trust fall, boom. Look how much easier that looked versus me going, versus trust fall. Look at that. It looked like I didn't even step. I just kind of glided. That's the kind of stuff you want. Again, less energy I'm wasting on nothing, people. I'm here. My phone died. What's up? Epic Duck is here. Darren Tang is a great example of that. Darren Tang is a good one when it comes to his stance. So another thing that you can do if you're not somebody that likes to start as compact like this is that what I'm worried about is your primary arm you bowl with, right? You don't want this arm bearing all that weight. You can kind of pin it on like your hip or something if you like it to be more forward, or you can have it come in. It's like right here, you see how this is at, like you can't really see it, but this is pinned up. You see how my arm's kind of in toward my body? This is pinned up on my hip. So I'm actually not wasting, I'm not holding the ball out in front of me for no reason. And just by using my muscle in my arm, I'm now bearing most of that weight on this hip. I could stand here forever. So I don't start, since I throw two-handed currently, I don't start super compact like this because I like to have the ball further away. I don't have a push away. So I like to start that a little further. So I'll lock my arm up into this hip, and that lets me set up my hand, and I can start the approach, right? But again, you have to think of what you do next. What is the reason for me starting with the ball over here? Do I have a push away? If you have a push away, what's the point of me starting with the ball out here if I'm going to push it away out here anyway? Start here, trust fall forward, and push away. So that is the stance. There's a lot of other aspects I could certainly go into. If you are thinking of something you do in your stance that I didn't descriptively talk about or something you don't think is optimal, tell me the thing it is you do and I'll let you know if I would continue to recommend it or not recommend it. So, okay, we have standed the optimal standard. We have stood standard. Oh, standard. Guys, it's been a day. Standard. Okay, we have stood. We have stood the right way. Stooded. So now we have to start walking and start our backswing, which I'm only going to discuss your swing up till the peak of your backswing. Now, you're going to quickly realize in the next episode, once I edit it, if your timing is optimal or not. Now, I like to use the timing that Mark Baker likes to preach, which, again, stay tuned for the episode. I think it'll be a good one for you guys because timing is a big question you always get. So, swing. Listen. Okay. Let's slow down. Swinging and walking. Okay. I love talking about how we walk and pairing that with how you swing, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to be the biggest hurt on your physical game or the biggest strength if you cannot optimize that swing. So let's talk about the feet, and then we'll dive into my favorite part, which is the swing. The swing sets up literally everything. If your swing is off, you're screwed because it's going to either pull from your release, it's going to reduce your precision, it's going to release your consistency, it's going to screw up your balance. It can screw up literally everything. So our feet. And this kind of feeds into it, right? Okay, swinging, trying to throw my ball, right? Are my feet, do I have that drift? And if I have that drift, how am I compensating for it, okay? So, common problem, two-handers, listen up if you're watching. Two-handers like to miss to the left if you're a righty or to the right if you're a lefty. Reason for this, two-handers like to have more drift. They like to drift more commonly than not to the side opposite of the arm they bowl with. Righties like to drift to the left, lefties like to drift to the right. I have a left drift as a righty. So, if my momentum in my feet, okay, here's the drift part. If I'm here, my target's here, my momentum is drifting me this way, guess which way my arm wants to go? Whoop! Right across my body, you miss to the left. Some traditional guys that have a lot of power like to do it because they might open up a ton and they might drift. And now guess where my arm has to go? Whoop! Across my body. Okay, if you have a drift, if I'm drifting this way, but I need to throw the ball this way, it's all in the last step. Your last step, at the very least, I'm trying to get back far enough. Your last step, for any of you, at the very least, no matter which way you drift, should guide you back in the direction you got to throw the ball. I made that super dramatic there, but if you guys are my target, okay, I'm facing my target. I'm drifting this way, okay? I've now drifted, so all my momentum is this way. How do I get my momentum to go back at you? This last step, or slide, is at you. So I've now slid toward you. Guess where my momentum is now shifted? I was going this way, I shifted it back at you. Boom, now my swing's on you. Versus, if that final step feeds into that incorrect momentum, oh, I'm talking, boom, I just missed to the left. All of you have a drift, just about. None of you walk exactly dead straight. You're going to move a little bit. If you are someone that tends to miss one direction or other a lot, see what your drift is. Take a video from behind you and see how you're walking and see where your momentum is carrying you versus where your intended target is. Again, it's okay to have a drift, but you've got to counteract that within the steps following on. So, relating that to your swing, why do you drift? Why would you even want to drift? Why is that even a thing that we have? Why is there a drift? It's because of this guy. This hip gets in the way. That's why people drift, or why they open up their body as they're swinging. Number one important aspect. This is a lot less pertinent in the backswing and more so in the downswing, which I talk about in the next episode that I will be editing and releasing tomorrow. Your swing has to go in the direction of where you want to throw. Now, reason why this isn't as applicable in the backswing, I know some of you know people that bowl like this. Some people have a figure eight. Loop around and back in. See that? It's like a figure eight. It's like one of these kind of motions or whatever. So it starts in, they loop out, comes in, they throw. That's a figure 8 swing. Some people might even have some other goofy kind of stuff, like that Tomas Kaiko where he starts with it way out here and he swings it behind his back and he comes in, whatever. That's why it's more important in the forward swing. If you guys are my target and my arm in the backswing is going at you as well as the downswing, that's going to be a little bit better, right? Because my arm is never going off of that line I'm intending to hit. But at the very least, if my arm does do that figure 8 or something and comes off, in the downswing portion, at the very least, it better go at my target, right? If I'm trying to shoot a rifle and I aim it here, I'm aiming this way, but I want to go this way, is there any % chance I'm going to hit you guys on camera? No, because the weapon's not facing that way. Your downswing is your weapon. That's your rifle. If your rifle is doing a bunch of goofy stuff and your arm swing is this way, your arm swings away from you, that's why you're missing that direction, people. It's not some, oh man, my steps, or oh man, my balance fell off, that's why I missed. No, that sure had to do with it, but if my arm doesn't go at you guys, that would have hit you because it went at you. If my arm goes behind my back and goes away from me, I don't care where you're looking, guys. If my swing is this way, I'm never going to get the ball to hit this arrow that's at you or hit this arrow or whatever. So you need to understand, and this is the biggest part. I don't care how you throw, what you throw, why you throw, whatever. If your swing does not swing in the direction of the thing you're trying to get your bowling ball to roll over, how can you sit there and look at somebody and say, oh, I don't know why I missed? That's why you missed. That's why there is error. So managing your energy and making sure that swing is straight is what all of you are doing. Anytime you hit your target, at the very least in your downswing, your arm went in the direction of your target at some point. Even if you have like an around your back kind of thing like this, at some point your arm was going at your target. Pushing the ball towards your target sets you up for less. Yes, exactly, right? How can you miss? How could you miss if my arm is always going on, line with the thing I'm trying to hit? You literally can't miss. You can't. All of you are capable of that. You just have to realize that. So, again, more of it will come into that kind of concept, but what I care about is getting us up to the backswing. So, okay, we understand why we have to get our hip out of the way so it can promote that swing. With this hip in the way, if I'm square like this, look at, see how my arm's hitting around? Now look at, my arm's not straight, because look, oop, it had to go around. Oop, it had to go around again. This is not a straight arm swing. This is not straight. It's not. This hip gets in the way. So that's why those bowlers open up their body, because now it has what I call like the slot. This is the slot. That's why this leg kicks out of the way, because look at, I have this whole area to swing my arm through to get my ball to go over my target. This hip gets out of the way. So you can either open up your body to get it out of the way, or you can do that drift thing. If I'm drifting, a lot of two-handers do, if I'm drifting this way, look at, this hip's out of the way because all my momentum is this way. On my last step, I reallocate that momentum back this way. By stepping this way, boom, I threw my ball at you. Done. That's all it is. So, your steps should cater your momentum going in the direction that your swing needs to go, as well as promote a comfortable swing by getting that hip out of the way and making sure your shoulder is always projected in line with your target. Very, very key element. A lot of stuff kind of goes hand in hand there. And again, this relates back to the stance, because if I set up and I'm set up like this, how the heck am I going to get closed off again and whatever to get set back up to hit you guys? It's not possible, right? So set up knowing, okay, I drift this many, if you do, which most of you do, just realize that. Okay, I drift 3 boards left, so whatever I'm seeing, I'll actually end up 3 boards left or 2 boards right or whatever it is for you. Okay, that means from where I'll end up at the line, not from where you're standing, because if I drift, I'm not going to end up where I'm standing, so the line you're envisioning your ball is going to go over will be different. If I know, okay, this is where I'm standing right now, I'm going to end up, in this example, 2 boards left, okay? If I end up 2 boards left and I hit this arrow and it goes this direction, it should strike. Okay, boom. At the line, I know my body has to face this much. Okay, face that much. I'm now facing that much. Okay, Logan, my momentum has to, at the very least, as well as my arm swing, go in this direction at the end. So let's say I have a drift. Okay, I'm going, oh, I'm drifting left. Guess what? Last step, reallocate all that energy back this way, guess what? My arm has nowhere to go but right at that arrow. Boom, and pins explode. You get all excited without even realizing what the hell you just did. You just did a million things in that 3 second you had in that approach. I just talked you through all that. Yeah. There's a million things going on that I don't think everyone quite realizes is happening because there's so many little tiny cogs in this machine. It's so hard to pick that stuff. Hey, coach, I started getting better at reverse hooking. Oh, like a backup? Like throwing it like a lefty as a righty? Yeah, so we call those backup balls. So Anthony Simons is a good one to watch if you want to see how he's leveraging. He's a two-hander, though. It's kind of harder if you're a one-hander because your thumb clears a little bit harder. But, yeah, backup balls are useful. It allows you to hook the ball the direction, in the direction of handedness you throw. So instead of being a righty hooking to the left, it's like being a righty but also hooking to the right as if you're a lefty. So those are useful because you can play different parts of the lane that less people may be playing at the time. So yeah, very, very, very fun and nice little thing to work on. But again, if you're gonna do that and you're playing the lane like a lefty, don't open up like you're playing like a righty because your ball doesn't have to go over the arrow over here now. You gotta go over the arrow over here. So you gotta set up kind of closed off toward that. See what I mean? It's weird. So let that stuff cater into your backswing and your stance. Right? So there we go. Hey guys, I'm gonna readjust this brace real quick. My wrist is kind of acting up on me here. All right, there we go. So I just want to go into a little bit more detail. I just want to make sure I cover everything that I felt was important to cover. It really is, guys, like the bottom line is you just have to cater your approach to promote a swing that, in the very least, at the downswing portion is in the direction of the arrow or thing you're looking at and trying to hit. And let your momentum also end up, at the very least in the last step, back in that direction you want to throw as well. And everything else that's good and optimal within the release will come along with that. Like, in an optimal world, again, this is not me saying that you can't throw it any way you want because all of you can. All of you have some different means of navigating it. Just think, is my arm swinging more often than not in that anticipated and wanted direction I need it to go swing in? And is my momentum doing that? And am I getting tired? Am I straining parts of my body while doing it? Right? So let's go into that more. Managing your energy, creating potential energy, getting all that energy stored in the top of your backswing. So when you watch this next video tomorrow, you know, oh, I got so much potential energy and I now convert it to the kinetic and start my swing downward. You know what that is. So gravity, I spoke about gravity, right? Gravity hurts most bowlers. They don't know how to use it quite right. This goes back to the stance. So in the stance, before you begin initiating your forward momentum, before you do that trust fall into your momentum, all of you have some different means of initiating the swing and creating leverage and creating some momentum to allow gravity to take that ball back out of your hands. So there are 3 ways that I see most, if not all, bowlers doing it. The most common, especially that you'll see within traditional bowling, is extend and push away. So you'll start compact like this, and after your first step, or however many you take, you'll push that ball away from you, and you'll allow gravity to take control of it and swing. That's a very common one. Another very common one is what I like to call inverse body motion, using your athleticism and different inversions within your body to create some spin. A lot of guys that are two-handed like to do this, so I will be two-handed for this example. So what it is you're creating body by maybe tilting down low, and you notice how those two-handers have that skip? Do you see what I just did? I used body motion to just say, I'm not going to use gravity, I'm just going to skip the ball up. And then you have all that leverage. That's why so many of those two-handers have that little like skip step like this, because look at all that energy I just created. Boom. One-handers can't do that as much because that's kind of, I mean, I guess you could, but that'd be a little bit different. So you can do that. And then the last one, which I do not recommend, only reason I talk about this one is because I see it, is just raw muscle. Like, you don't really have a push away. You don't really like jerk the ball up, so to speak. You just kind of like start with it low, and you just kind of like just muscle it back. That's hard. I can't even do that like myself. So again, whatever means you have of navigating it and starting it is good, but let gravity help you. Now, those of you who swing Common problem, which you'll come to learn. We know if we want to hook the ball, our hand has to be underneath the ball so we can flick it like this. Right, my hand, if the more underneath the ball my hand is, the more I can hit it and flick it with my fingers and get it to rotate, right? Most of you tend to have your hand be like this on the top of the ball. You could have a great, it's like epic, I know you're watching, you could have a great look in the backswing and lose it on the downswing where your hand's on top of the ball. And now your hand can't flick as much because you're not as leveraged underneath that bowling ball anymore, right? So the reason for this, guys, is because you're not allowing gravity to let that ball come down easily. So you could have a great backswing and allow gravity on your push away or whatever to bring it back, thus creating that hand in a strong position. So you think, okay, my hand's here. I'm surprised it's not here at the point of release where I can flick it more, is because you get to the top of the backswing and you're not allowing that spot, the peak of where gravity allows it, to let it start to swing back down. So you're going up, you have it like this, and you jerk it, you muscle it. So now your wrist goes and you lose it. So it's like this. So I'm in a great spot, I forced it, and my wrist jerks up. Now my hand's on top of the ball. So you'll feel it. This is a critical part in the apex. If you swing a ball, I'm sure all of you can think of something like math class where you heard about this, when you were however old. It's like when you throw a baseball up in the sky, it's going up. There's one point in time where that baseball stops. It's not going up nor down, and then it comes back down. You throw it up, here it comes, it stops in time, and the ball comes back down. It's the same in bowling. That little catch, that little spot where you're at the top of your backswing and it can't go any higher and it is frozen in time, that is your time to get your hand behind that ball. That's your time to get your hand in that position to where in the end, you can get underneath it. So you have to manage that spot. So I'm here comes the ball, okay? It stopped, boop, I cut my wrist. Now gravity takes it down. Don't muscle it because you're gonna break that wrist open and you'll have no room to leverage. I'm here, gravity takes it down, I'm using no muscle, and then after it starts going down, then I can muscle. Now my hand's in a much more strong position. I can get a lot more rotation out of the ball that way. So that is why a lot of you in the later portions, which you'll learn again, you don't get as much underneath the ball, you get more on top of it like this because you're not letting gravity start to take it back down. That's why. And two-handers don't fall into this problem as often because, and that's why that inverse body motion thing I was talking about with you skipping works, because since they have no thumb, they're not allowed to do this, because if they do, they're gonna drop the ball, it's gonna hit the ground. That's why those two-handers, that's why there's such a big debate about it, because their hand is always underneath the ball. That's why there's that cradle. Their hand is always underneath the ball. But when you have a thumb in, that gives you room to be lazy, and you can have a great spot in the backswing, but if you lose it, you didn't manage that energy, now I'm on top of the bowling ball and I have no room to leverage it. My wrist slowly uncups from the top of your wrist. So that means you probably are close, epic, you probably have it, but you're probably muscling it just a bit too much too quickly, right? Again, there's that very brief moment when that ball stops in time, like that baseball equation, whatever thing you learned in whatever grade of math class, you've cupped it, but if you apply a bunch of energy too quick or too much too quickly, you're gonna slowly lose it because gravity is only moving this fast, but you're trying to make it move this fast. So now you're going faster than what gravity wants, and now, because gravity is making that ball not fall as fast, boom, your hand is now in a weak position. Very common problem. But again, you could have a great, let's say you're great at that. Let's say you're great at managing that gravity and your wrist is in a good position. Guess what, guys? If you're my target, no matter how good of a position I'm in, if my momentum and body isn't faced toward you, oop, I missed my target. Now it doesn't matter what the heck just happened because the number one thing in this is precision, and you didn't have that. Oops, now you didn't score well, okay? You have to manage their energy, both that the world is gifting to you and that you're creating, as well as a straight swing and follow through. I switched to two-handed because I was performing better. Yep, probably because, again, you didn't lose it at the top of the backswing because you probably have that inverse body motion that lets you get underneath the bowling ball a lot easier. Plus, again, with no thumb in the ball, I can't have my hand be like this. This is almost impossible to release a bowling ball like this with two-handed. And if I don't have my other hand on the ball, it'll fall out of my hand. So that's why two-handed gets so much better leverage, because your hand has to be underneath the ball. If my hand's not, it'll fall out of my hand. But with a thumb, I can hold any way I want. I could rep it for, I could do curls for my forearms with it, right? Your thumb is your support. With two-handed, your offhand is your support. That is the totem pole that is keeping that ball locked in your hand. Very engaging discussion today. Very, very engaging. I'm gonna mess with this again. So, I believe I hit just about everything that I deemed as important for now. I'm sure a lot more questions will come up once I upload that new video. I definitely should be able to get it done by tomorrow, guys. I'd say there's like a 95% chance, because I should be home in a decent time. So that's going to be my big mission for tomorrow, is to get that pumped out and then get the Quick Tip Tuesday out and try to get one more video for you guys, so when we have our next upcoming live stream, then we can make more sense of everything, right? So I can fill in these gaps. Because I know this stuff is obviously kind of confusing, but like it makes sense. Like once you hear it once, you never forget it. Like, oh, okay, like, yeah, if I have a straight arm swing, how can I miss? Yeah, sure. Okay, if I manage my energy and take use of that gravity that the world has, I'll do better. Sure, that's easy. That's not a complicated concept to understand. You could take a video of yourself and think, oh, I can see that I didn't follow along with gravity. I can see I mismanaged my muscle there. I can see whatever, right? But with some of the other stuff later on, it's a lot more like finite things you have to kind of pick out. And that kind of stuff requires more questions and requires me to answer more, because, again, none of us throw the same ball. Something I didn't talk about as much, but I want to talk about again since I'm talking about this managing energy thing, is our arm the only thing moving? Even if you bowl one-handed, is our arm the complicated part of switching away from your muscle? Yes. Especially when you're doing new things. That stuff gets super old. I get that. That's why just reps is a good thing to do whenever you're learning new stuff. Is our arm, or arms, if you're a two-hander, aren't the only thing that's moving. We have legs, we have our hips that we know we have to move, we have our shoulders, we have our head and everything. So, if we know we have all these moving parts, if you struggle with power or want to get more power, why are you only relying on your arm to do all of that? Because again, we know if we tense up or use too much in one spot, we miss. We don't get as fluid as a release as we want. Many things go wrong. So what if I told you most of your power is not from your arm or arms? It's your leg. The second to last step is what I like to call the power step. So this second to last step, no matter what, right here, this step, that gets me into my slide or my plant, which I can talk a little bit more as well to fill up the rest of this time. This step is what propels me forward the most, what I can create the most leverage with in my body. Let this power step push a little harder. Let this power step dig into the ground a little bit harder and propel me more forward. Then that way, you're not going faster than gravity by muscling it with your arm. You're letting your arm not take up as much of the blow, and having your leg punish and just push your arm forward and drive that momentum in at the pins. That is where a lot of your power is. You can do a drill. You can do a one-step drill where you just swing the ball, and as it's coming down, you just take one step into your slider plant. That's a great way to work on reinforcing that power and seeing how much more speed and revolutions and everything you can create without relying on that arm of yours, that big, strong arm of all your guys', right? That's a big one. What was the other thing? I was just going to say something. Oh, yes. So sliding and planting. So why do we have a slide, right? Like, what is the point of that? Like, why do most bowlers have a slide? Well, again, momentum, right? All of our momentum is going forward, right? When you slide, that gives you a means of slowing down gradually and stopping your momentum. Usually guys that slide have a much easier time staying balanced because I'm taking all this running energy and I'm slowly stopping. Think of it like when you're driving and you have your foot a little bit on the brakes. You slowly kind of slow down. Planters are people that don't slide. So they're going, they stop all of a sudden. So that's why more coming out, you slide. So if you want to slide, the shoes are designed to where the front of the shoe has The friction surface and the heel of the shoe is just the regular sneaker surface. So if I am coming toward you guys and the front of my foot makes contact with the ground first, I slide because the friction part of that is on my shoe. But if I go my heel first like this, the sneaker part is making contact. So all my momentum stops as I'm going. So if you want to remain balanced, more often sliding is better. But again, there are many more ways to balance. I used to have a slide, but I actually got rid of it. Planting usually makes you get lower and get more condensed to the ground because it's a more subtle stop, that it makes me get more leverage. That's something that helps me. But again, not necessarily, as a matter of fact, is less than optimal for 90% of you. I would recommend a slide because that promotes a more gradual stop, lets you navigate your momentum a lot easier and kind of ease into that stopping point. So we just had some stuff go through. That's the thing about two-handed switching from one-handed. If you don't have the correct timing, it's like getting rid of the approach and just walking up and doing another step. Yes, if you're thinking about switching from 1 to 2, 2 to 1, whatever, like it's gonna take time with timing and stuff. So I know I discussed about the pros and cons of both. So give yourself time, do like that one-step drill and stuff to kind of reinforce that timing, which again, you'll realize what the optimal timing is in the next video. So stay alert on that. My backswing had gotten so much shorter due to injuries. For me, it's difficult to keep my hand under the equator. Does that make sense? Or how can yes, that makes total sense. I get what you're saying. Yes, if you have an injury that's limiting how far back you can go, that means you can't cup as much, right? Because if you're like completely flat, logically, it should be easier for me to get underneath it more. But again, I don't know if you were here earlier, Tim, where I was talking about how, you know, like when you were, however old, when you were like young kid and you were in school and there's like that equation where like, Johnny throws a baseball straight up and the ball goes so high and it stops. How high did it go before it started to fall if they threw it at this speed? So again, you know, okay, gravity is always applying a downward force, and the force that Johnny applied throwing it is greater than the force that gravity's having. So the ball is going up. But then for a brief moment, that baseball reaches the apex where gravity and the amount of force that Johnny, or John, what did I call him? Did I call him Johnny? I can't remember. The amount of force that Johnny put on it is now equal. So that baseball is now stopped in time. And then gravity outweighs 12th grade physics. See, 12th grade, I don't know. It's been a minute for me. So now gravity is now applying more force than that amount Johnny put on. Now the ball is falling back down to the ground. So that brief moment where that baseball that Johnny threw stopped, that is your time, Tim. That is your time to capitalize on that. So regardless if your swing is this high or way up this high, there is a brief moment, no matter how any of you throw for any of you, where that ball, the force that you created by doing a push away or that swing or whatever it is you have that's creating that momentum backwards, where gravity and the force you applied are now even. So that ball is frozen. During that point, again, whether it's this high, or it could even be this far, that is the time you have, because it's hard for me to sit here with a ball like this and just get my hand into a powerful spot because the ball's not frozen, and that's 14, this is 16 pounds that I'm fighting to get my hand to leverage, right? If I take advantage of that split second where the ball isn't moving, I can boop, get my hand behind it. So this is 16 pounds, and you see how I'm built, Tim. Ready? Watch this. Boom. Did you see it? Right there. I caught it for a half second. It's so quick, but I know I'm going to try to go as slow as I can. I can only fight gravity so much. I'll even start with my hand in a weak position. I will start with my hand like this, Tim, and I will be able to leverage it. Watch. I'm going to start my hand all the way out. This is as weak of a position as I can get. Look where my hand is. Look at that. You want me to do it with a small backswing? You just have to react faster, okay? Let's do it. Weak position again. I'm there. I'm not even above my hip. So during that moment, at the apex of your swing, which you have to know where that is for you, that is your time to leverage that ball and flick it hard. Got it? Perfect. Awesome, Tim. Glad. So if you take a video from the side, kind of like I did, that'll help you kind of pick out that moment, and you'll see it, all of you. Take a video from the side and see where it is. Perfect explanation. Thank you. Yes, of course. I'm glad I could help. So if you take a video from the side when you're actually bowling, since you tend to be faster and more, more momentum when you're actually bowling, you'll see that ball where it literally freezes in time. Like you'll literally see it not move up or down. It's kind of creepy because it's like you're watching that equation with Johnny throwing the baseball in real time. It's really, really cool. You can watch even professionals, like anything, like the way that they capitalize on that split second they have to cup their wrist around the ball like this, it's insane. Even like, especially if you watch like the senior tour where some of the bowlers don't have the amount of strength or don't have the amount of wrist action and they get a little older and stuff, you should see how much they rely on that split second. These guys can have, like I did, like the worst setup possible. And these guys, I kid you not, in that split second, they can get your hand to go from this to all the way. And it's like, wow, that's awesome. I really hope when I get a bit older that I'll be able to be as like that into and that on top of leveraging gravity and creating that leverage at a later point. So again, we'll learn a lot more about timing. I didn't get to go into it much here. That wasn't my initial thing, but you'll learn a lot more about timing in the next video once I edit it and hopefully get it uploaded tomorrow. And then I'm hoping I can get to the next episode, which will be the big part that most of us will have questions on. That is the release. So again, I'd like to apologize for all of you. I know I missed last weekend's stream and everything with my wrist being all messed up here and everything. It's just been, you guys know how it is. Life just keeps getting busier and busier and busier. So I'm glad all of you have been able to stay tuned. I hope all of you have been doing well. If you have not heard or have not had a chance to look at it yet, if you go to my channel and you actually click on that little link, I made a Google website. It took me a long time to make, so I hope you guys enjoy it. It talks about me and the things I do and the credentials I have and everything. And until we hit 250 subscribers, I am offering a 100%. Once a week, I will give you a free virtual lesson completely on the house, as many as you want until we hit 250 subscribers. And since you guys are here so early, we're at what, 178? We got quite a handful of subscribers we got to get until we get to that benchmark. So if you go to the website and go to like the little lessons page, I hope I made it as easy to navigate as I can for all of you guys. If you click on that, it'll take you to like a Google form or something. So you put in like your name, how you want me to contact you. And if you put in your email or your phone or something, I promise I will not blow it up. I will be as courteous as I can to all of you. And you'll throw like what times you're looking to do and everything. I tried my best to make it as user-friendly as possible and protect, and again, not ask for anything more than I need to make sure I know who you are, how I can talk to you, and what time you're looking at. That's all I need to know. So I promise it is completely secure, 100% free, my means of getting back to all of you, because I love this stuff way too much. This is what I love waking up in the morning, is being able to help out the community and give back. This is the kind of stuff I enjoy. So again, I apologize for my latency, but I promise I will continue to do my very, very best to get back to all of you as much as I can. So as always, even if it's in the community, visit that, ask questions, reach out to me you can look up my name on Facebook, you can add me on Instagram, I'll add all of you guys in anything, whatever is the best means of communicating for you. Even if you have me added on Facebook or something and you feel more comfortable giving me how you want it, like a lesson timing, and talk to me on Facebook or talk to me on Instagram or whatever, we can do that too. If you guys don't want to use the form, whatever best makes all of you comfortable. So just let me know, and I'm going to sign off and ice up my wrist a little bit more so I don't feel as horrible here. So thank you all again so much. Make sure to check out the website, and I will see all of you on the next live stream. And hopefully I'll see all of you on Monday's video. So have a good Sunday.